Welcome to LeaderCast. I'm Anthony Kovic, and today out of California, right near Hollywood, Burbank, California, we have Dan McBride, who is the actor of Little House on the Prairie. Thank you for being on LeaderCast here today, Dan.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure, Anthony.
We're part of the Coach the World. We're on the Coach the World platform, and how long have you been part of the Coach the World platform, and what benefits do you get as an actor that you're enjoying as being part of this really worldwide global coaching platform?
Oh, well, it's been less than a year that I've been on Coach the World platform. I'm trying to think exactly when. It might have been about the time the pandemic began. So we're looking at maybe 5, 6 months, maybe. I'm just guessing, something like that. Not terribly long. And the best thing is that the creator of Coach the World contacted me and began to explain to me what Coach the World was all about. And eventually, as I began to understand the concept, I said, wonderful, wonderful. Matter of fact, I thought that Coach the World had a wonderful, marvelous concept where they allow the fans to talk and communicate and see and just have a conversation with whatever celebrity or actor that they would like to talk with. And this is great. It is wonderful. It's a great opportunity, a great deal for the fans and through Coach the World. It's a great site, wonderful place.
Now, do you get a real chance to really communicate with the fans in a safe platform? How long is your coaching sessions?
I think in talking with the creator of the site, I believe we created. Well, it can really run any amount of time, but I think we set it up for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I believe is the. And most of my conversations have gone at least 45 minutes, sometimes closer to an hour. So, it's usually I get to be talking quite a bit, and time runs out, but I look up and it's been 45 minutes already or 50 minutes. So, time to me is not that crucial. We can talk as long as they wish. That's that's fine with me. So, if they have a lot of questions, that's fine.
So the platform allows you to really connect with your fans on a one-on-one conversation such as we are having here. This is basically, we are on the platform and we are doing this just like as if I was a fan asking you questions and you're the actor that I'm talking to that that I have interest in, and the platform is designed to be this simple to use. You click, you record. It's basically just like a phone would be on FaceTiming. You click and you're done, and you're talking to your fans.
This is a great concept. It's a great concept. Yeah.
Well, and plus, unlike FaceTime, you really, the program is designed for whoever's doing the coaching to set up a price based on what they want to do, and they can set whatever price they want, and that's the whole process. How expensive is your coaching sessions or your fan sessions?
I'll tell you, as I perhaps look at other individuals that are on Coach the World, I'll be honest with you, I set mine at the lowest price that is allowed. I'm the cheapest guy.
Well, you're not the cheapest. You are making yourself available to your fans so the system, at the most minimum the system will allow. You're not really trying to be cheap. You're trying to connect with your fans.
Yeah, that's really it. You're exactly right. The money, I'll be honest with you, the money was never a criteria. I can see where some other celebrities, they really had a very high price. But again, I think their time is more valuable, from the standpoint of who they are. But I didn't, I figured I was not going to be able to buy the mansion in Beverly Hills with the income from Coach the World. So it was more giving the fans a better opportunity, more opportunities. If they want to meet me, that's great, and that's fine. It's more enjoyable that way.
So tell us on how did you get into, acting And well, let's ask the questions from the role of Little House on the Prairie.
Okay.
What was the scenario that you ended up being casted for the episode?
Okay.
Or the series.
Series. Well, in order to understand that, we've got to go back 6 months, 8 months, because you see, I met Michael Landon. Michael, of course, he was the star, the director, the producer, the owner of the show, right? So I met Michael Landon much earlier than I ever appeared on Little House, because I co-starred in a movie that Michael Landon directed. And it was from that movie that he saw my acting. And luckily and fortunately, I got very good reviews for my performance on that movie, with the trade papers, the Hollywood, the Reporter, and the Hollywood Variety. And so apparently Michael liked my acting as well. So one day after we finished post-production on the movie, dubbing and all the stuff we had to do, and one day I get a call I remember the last day we shot the movie, we were down in Tucson, Arizona. And we were sitting around the pool I think a Sunday afternoon, and I walked over to Michael. He was over there with his wife, and I walked over to him, and we just finished shooting the movie, and I said, Michael, I'm not going to be flying back to Hollywood with you, with everybody. I'm going to stay down here for a couple of days and just kind of relax. And he says, well, I'll be seeing you soon. And I thought he was just being very nice, just being nice. And he was a nice person, so that was very much his character. And that's really what I thought he meant. Well, it was just very nice and saying goodbye. But several months after we finished shooting and some post-production work, I get a call from Michael saying, what are you doing next week? And I said, nothing. He said, how would you like to be on Little House? And so I went and did Little House, and I did maybe 2 episodes, I'm not sure, a couple of episodes. And then Michael created a character for me, a recurring role character for me on Little House. But that's how I met Michael, and that's how I began to work on Little House on the Prairie, was under those circumstances. And so I did not know at the time how well known or popular that my character was among the fans, because we didn't have internet at that time. Not until just maybe 4 or 5 years ago did I discover the fans knew my character. I never knew that. I had no idea.
Well, that is awesome. Now, at that time, you've been acting for how long have you been acting before you got to meet Michael Landon and you were part of a movie, that he directed? And
yep.
A lot of people like to know these things, especially for the purpose of families who want to take their kids through the process of acting and maybe becoming an actor or getting in that process. Just take us through a little synopsis of your experience in the early days before, where you got your first role, so to speak.
Well, I'll back up a little bit from there. In the past, when I would talk to maybe an acting class or beginning actors or people who might be interested, I tell them, you got to go to school. Doctors have to go to school. Lawyers have to go to school. Actors have to go to school. It's as simple as that. Very few actors, quote actors, are natural and they walk in and they become actors. But anyway, so in my case, I had never done anything with acting, in high school, college, nothing at all. My background in college and my degrees are in totally different areas. Nothing related to acting at all. But for whatever reason, I decided to go into acting. And I studied acting at Warner Brothers, the movie studios, for about 2.5 years. And then I studied privately with one of the teachers that if I hadn't developed any talent or skill as an actor, one of the teachers really takes the credit or the blame for that. And matter of fact, and the same teacher one day, after studying with her maybe for 2 years or 2.5 years, she walked up to me one day. I'm getting to your question, but maybe long-winded. She walked up to me one day and said, Dan, do you have an agent? I said, no. And the truth is, I never envisioned ever getting an agent because it's difficult to get an agent in Hollywood. And I never envisioned actually ever working as an actor. That was beyond my capacity. But anyway, she said, do you have an agent? And I said, no. And she turned and kind of walked away. And I thought, well, she was going to say, oh, if you had an agent, have your agent. There's a role in a movie or something. Have your agent in contact. But she didn't say anything. She just turned and walked away. And I thought, well, whatever it was, I blew it. About 2 or 3 months later, she walked back up to me one day and handed me a piece of paper, a little bitty piece of paper, just a little bitty piece. She says, call this number. I called the number, not knowing exactly who or what, and it was an agency in Hollywood, a theatrical agency in Hollywood. And I went and talked with them. I didn't know if about him. She gave me the name of who to talk to. I went and talked to him. And anyway, talked for half an hour with the agent. And at the end, I said, are you going to represent me? He said, well, of course we are. Meaning, the teacher had already opened the door. And as long as I could walk and talk and chew gum at the same time, she pretty well had sold them on my talent and abilities. Anyway, now remember, that was a Friday afternoon. I drove over to my girlfriend's home, and I said, guess what? I have an agent. And she said, oh, who is it? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. It turned out to be one of the bigger agencies in Hollywood, not the biggest, but a nice agency. And, of course, I began to go on to interviews, auditions, and eventually I got a role, got my first job. It was a commercial here in Hollywood. And then from there, I got a couple of 3 movies and did a couple more commercials. But the truth is, it all came from going to acting school at Warner Brothers for 2.5 years and studying full time, not just off and on or a little bit, full time from about 10 o'clock every morning until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And so that's really how I got going. And then one day, my agent calls me and says, Dan, you have an audition at Paramount Studios at 2:15 on a Thursday. And so they said, you're going to go to room 225, something like that. So I pull up to the gate at Paramount Studios. I tell the guard, I said, I'm here for audition at room 225. And he said something interesting, which didn't make a lot. I didn't know at the time, really, because I was focusing on the audition. So anyway, I found room 225, walked in, nobody else in the lobby but me, in the waiting room. And in a couple of moments, the door opened and the lady walked out. And she says, Dan, how are you? Well, in Hollywood, that's not the way it goes. In Hollywood, it's usually like, next, that kind of thing, right?
Yes.
But she knew my name. She was friendly. And she said, come on in. So go on in. We chat just for a few moments. And then she handed me the script. And we did what's called a cold reading. Meaning I had not had a script beforehand. So we began to read the script. And then she, and her name was Susan Suitman, the casting lady and I have no idea who or what it is or what I'm there for. I have no knowledge except to be at room 225. Anyway, so we read it. She said, read it this way. Read it this way. And I think, I'm really not getting the character. Obviously, I'm just totally wrong with the character. What I realized later was she was trying to see if I could take direction. Anyway, so we did, I say 3 times. He says, fine, Dad. Could you wait outside for 5 or 10 minutes? So I go back out in the lobby. Have no idea. I mean, all I know is I'm in room 225. Have no idea who she is. Anyway, in a few minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, 10 minutes probably, she came back out and said, no, Dan, can you come back in? And I come back in and sitting on the couch, there was a couch there in that inner room, was Michael Landon. And to this very day, I remember exactly, I didn't say it, but I remember exactly what I thought. I thought, what in the devil is he doing here? Because I have no idea what the part is, I don't even know what show or movie or whatever, commercial, I don't know. And Michael stands up and she says, Dan, Michael Landon. And so we shook hands. He sat back down. And so the casting lady, Susan Sigmund, and I began to read the script again, began to do the audition again. And I remember very clearly, as I continued to do reading the script back and forth, Michael gets off the couch, gets on his knees, and crawls or kind of walks up to me, gets on his knees, and he's staring up at me. He's staring up at me, really looking at my face as I'm doing the audition with the casting lady, right? But he's really just looking. I mean, you couldn't miss it. There's no way but luckily I didn't lose my concentration, right? And so when we finished the scene, I hear Michael turn to Susan and say, "Wonderful." And Susan says, "Thank you very much, Dan." And I leave. Now, I still have no idea what I'm there for. I don't know why Michael Landon is there. I have no idea why he's there. Driving home, I kept thinking, well, Michael said wonderful, but that's all that was said, and I left. The next day, I committed the number one cardinal sin in acting. The number one cardinal sin in acting.
What is that?
What is the number one cardinal sin? You never call back to the casting office or back to the company and ask, did you get the part? No. They don't tell you. I mean, usually they'll say, don't call us, we'll call you. That kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, I remember one time I was doing some audition, and when I was filling my oats, and I remember when I started to walk out, I got to the door and I said, "Oh, I'll see you next Monday." Meaning the show or the role, the part when starting. I said, "I'll see you next Monday," and the producer, someone says, "Wait till we call you." Anyway, back to Michael. So I committed the number one cardinal sin. The number one cardinal sin: you never call and ask, "Did you get the role?" The next day, because I kept saying to myself, Michael said wonderful. They were friendly, and so I called the casting lady. I called Paramount Studios. I asked for Susan Sigmund. She comes on the line. I said, "Susan," I said, "this damn McBride, did I get the role?" She said, "Well, of course you got the role." I said, "Really?" She said, "Oh, yeah, it's wonderful. You're going to be on location. Michael Landon's going to be directing." Wow, I never knew all that. I didn't even know, was it a TV show? Was it a commercial? Was it a movie? Turned out to be, of course, a movie, and I'm co-starring in it. Anyway, that's how I met Michael Landon. And then, as I already explained, after we did post-production for the movie, then he creates a role for me, A Little House on the Prairie.
Now, at that time, did you live in California?
Yep. I'll tell you how I got to California. I never had any acting. I came to California because I was working with the YMCA in Lansing, Michigan. During my college summer years, I worked on a ranch. That was supervised by the Detroit YMCA. But I worked on a ranch, horses and everything, right? Anyway, so I've been with the YMCA, and then when I got out of college, when I graduated, I got a job in Lansing, Michigan with the YMCA. Burbank, California, near Hollywood. Burbank was building a brand new YMCA. They offered for me to come out and audition for the job as the physical education director of the YMCA. I came out, I interviewed, I got the job, and so I was now working for the Burbank, California YMCA. I didn't really enjoy the job. After about not even 3 months, less than 3 months, I resigned. But that's how I got to California.
You ended up staying there?
I ended up staying in Burbank, and not knowing anyone and not knowing exactly what I was going to do, So I stayed in Burbank in California, and I did a little bit, not much touring, but looking around here and there, because I had to ask someone, where's Hollywood from Burbank? Someone said, oh, it's just over the mountain, just over the hill. And after several months, maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months of no job, doing nothing, I saw a notice or something, I don't know what I saw, that Burbank Studio, Warner Brothers Studios, had an acting program, and I decided to go down there and audition for the program. I had no idea, never had done any acting, never done a play, never done anything. Walked in, talked to the coordinator of the Warner Brothers acting program, talked to him, this and that. To my surprise, they accepted me into the acting program.
Now,
I spent there 2 years.
The acting program itself is what really propelled you, even though you may have had a little bit of experience from your school days. But this is...
No, That's just it. No acting ever.
Oh, you didn't even have the acting.
Never had any acting.
So
Even when I was, even at the university, I stayed away from the fine arts department building because that's where all the weirdos hung out. And I would deliberately not even go by that building, the fine arts department. Ironically, years later, they invited me back for an interview and stuff like that. Anyway.
Yeah, now did they put your name on it?
I think they probably just burned the audition tape, anyway, interview tape. But no, I had no acting at all.
Were you part of you worked for the YMCA. Did you get a chance to meet the village people? No?
No, never did. No.
You didn't get a chance to participate in any of the roles? Were you the Y of the C? You weren't any of those, right?
I don't know. Was it Y? I forgot how they do it. But no, they might have hung out at the Fine Arts Department building on campus, but I didn't ever meet them, no.
Now,
that's what I said.
Just to get off a topic a little bit, when you were 5 or 6 years old, you were arrested. What's that about?
Well, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm only 5. What can a 5-year-old do?
That's true.
Well, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of a.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, I grew up in a very, very small rural town in Kentucky. The name of the little town is Benton, B-E-N-T-O-N, Benton, Kentucky. At the time I was growing up, to be honest with you, and everybody says the same thing. Think of it as Mayberry from Andy Griffith. Think of it as being the town being Mayberry, because that's really what it was. Small town, maybe 1,000 people population-wise total. Everybody knew everybody. I mean, truly, everybody knew everybody, right? Anyway, now this part gets a little embarrassing. My dad was a bootlegger. My father was a bootlegger.
That's nothing new in Kentucky.
No, that's exactly right. It's everyday vocation. That's what everybody did. Anyway, but the county that I lived in, which was Marshall County there in Kentucky, was a dry county. A dry county. As for the fans who may not know that term, it goes back to Prohibition days when alcohol was not allowed. Well, my county continued to be prohibit alcohol. You couldn't have alcohol in the entire county. That didn't mean it didn't exist. Probably the chief of police probably had a bottle or two in his back pocket, anyway. But my dad was a bootlegger, and a bootlegger is someone who would transport booze from one area to illegal booze, but booze or alcohol from one area to another area. So my dad got arrested. Yeah.
Was he a NASCAR driver at that time?
remember the movie Thunder Road? Thunder
Yes.
Road? Yes, anyway, with Robert Mitchum. Anyway, but no, he was not quite that kind. He was not that sophisticated. He was just a poor guy. Get a few bottles of alcohol, Jack Daniels or bourbon, and bring it back into town. Well, he got caught twice before. This third time he gets caught bootlegging, and apparently this the third time, we're not going to give you a break. And so the judge sentenced him to the county jail. In our little town, the county courthouse, is a big old building, and then all the businesses are built around that courthouse square. We call it the courthouse square. All the businesses, all the shops are there. Anyway, but the judge sentenced him, I'll say 3 months in the county jail. Well, so he goes to county jail. My mother, of course, we didn't have any money, obviously. My mother has to go to work, and so she gets a job as a waitress right across the street from the courthouse. Everybody knows everybody. Now, this is where Mayberry comes into play. My mother, of course, knew the jailer. His first name was Prentice. I don't remember the last name, but his first name was Prentice. My mother knew Prentice. My dad knew Prentice, and he's a jailer. Anyway, everybody knew Prentice. Everybody knew everybody. But my mom goes to the Prentice and explains, my husband, Dan is in jail. My father's name was Dan. So, as you know, Dan's in jail, and I have, I don't have money to pay for a babysitter, no one to take care of little Danny, And he says, well, why don't you bring him, when you come to work in the morning across the street at the restaurant, bring him into the jail, I'll unlock it, he can go in there and stay with his dad. It's okay. And then when you get off of work, come back over. I'll let him out, unlock it, and you come back out. I said, oh, so that was the deal with me. So every morning, 7 o'clock or whatever, I'd go, British would unlock the jail. I'd go running in there. Of course, there was maybe 3 or 4 other guys in jail too, but it was a big old, gigantic place, humongous. But there was only 3 or 4 guys in there, and of course, they all knew each other, you know. Anyway, but when I'd come running in at 7 o'clock in the morning, they would say, oh, look here, Daddy Boy is here. Daddy Boy, look here, Daddy Boy is here, right? And the jailer's wife, she made all the meals. She made for lunch. She made me lunch. And I remember to this very day, this is true. She made the best ever grape Kool-Aid. The best Kool-Aid I've ever tasted in my entire life. And that's how I got in jail as a 5-year-old. I spent maybe, I'm not sure how long, I'll say maybe a couple of months or whatever it was until Dad got out. And as a 5-year-old, it was like Mayberry, RFD, Mayberry, let me in, out, and I spent the summer there with my dad in jail. And, you know, it's a great story. It's a great story.
That alone should be a movie. Your time in jail could be a whole series.
Oh, I got a better one.
What do you
There's
got?
a better one. I won't tell you the story, but I'll just tell you. I'll give you the teaser. I'll give you the trailer.
The trailer, yes.
The trailer. As an adult, as a grown man now. Of course, I already have a background as a felon in jail, in county jail in Marshall County, but, you know, so anyway. But as a grown up, while I was studying acting at Warner Brothers, I get arrested, and I'm in 7 different jails in a 23-hour period of time. 7 different jails in 23 hours. There are subplots and subplots and subplots that I don't even know that it's happening because I'm in jail, but there's all kinds of subplots going on going around this whole episode. That's a teaser that I'll tell you. I mean, that's as far as I'll go. Someday in the future, well, maybe another edition of Coach the World.
Coach the World. You gotta log in and get a session to get the rest of the teaser.
That's right.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, we're watching this, you know, we're doing this conversation here with Dan McBride on LeaderCast, and he does training, coaching, and to give access to the fans about his life, his experience, his acting, his time with Michael Landon on Little House on the Prairie. And the Coach the World platform, anyone could be on the platform. It is free for anyone who has an idea, who has a service, training, a connection. It doesn't matter. There is a very inexpensive basic package that you can offer at the minimum, and people can connect with you and order your services. I have several coaching options on Coach the World as well. And this episode is to learn more about some of the people that are part of the Coach the World coaching programs, and to give people an idea that you too can take your ideas, work from home, make income, utilizing your experience, your talent, your ideas, and whatever it is. It could be needlepoint for all we know. You never know what becomes something that people want to pay you to learn because you have a specific talent. And that's what we're discussing here on Coach the World. This is the platform. It's very quick. It's very easy. People click. They order the package. You set a time and approve it. And everything gets processed by magic almost. Right, Dan?
Yeah. It's easy and simple. It really is. And it's a wonderful, at least from the standpoint of actors or celebrities, to be able to connect with the fans. It is so easy, so simple. You know, it's a wonderful opportunity for the fan. It really is. You know, now, they can ask questions and talk about anything they want to talk about.
Exactly. So when you were doing the Little House on the Prairie, where was it located? What was the location program taking place?
There's in essence three different places. We began shooting. I say we. I mean, I joined the series in about it was either the 3rd or 4th year. We shot the first few years at Paramount Studios. And that's where, of course, I did my first episode or 2 or whatever. Then And then we moved down to MGM Studios because MGM at that time, Soundstage number 15, had the largest soundstage in the world. And so Little House on the Prairie moved into that Soundstage 15 at MGM Studios, and they built duplicated several buildings. Little House on the Prairie, the schoolhouse, Nellie's Restaurant, several buildings. Then the third location was typically for the exteriors, was shot outside in an area about 50, 60 miles from Los Angeles, an area called Simi Valley.
Oh, Simi Valley, yes.
At the Big Sky Ranch. And they built the town. Walnut Grove was built there at Big Sky Ranch. And the little house is down the hill, so to speak. The little house is away from the actual building and everything. And so there was those three locations. Now, occasionally, every now and then, Landon, of course, again, he was the director, the owner, and all that stuff. They would go on location to other parts of the Northern California. One of his favorites was going out to Arizona. I understand it was not so much his favorite as it was his wife's favorite location. And so they would go there because, his wife enjoyed being out in Arizona. But those are the three locations. MGM is where I worked the most. I loved MGM. Oh, big studio. And of course, the famous studio, I mean, all the musicals they did, back in the 30s and the 40s, whatever. So MGM Studios was wonderful.
Now, as an actor, being part of, having access to the studio and stuff like that took place, did you have access any other privileges that were part of you being able to get into the studio?
You mean, I'm not sure if I quite understand. You mean like at MGM or something?
Yeah, like at MGM. So you have access to MGM Studios when you're doing Little House on the Prairie. But did you get a chance to roam the buildings or be part of any of the shows?
Well, sometimes I'd wander around and just kind of curiosity. And the streets or the buildings were named after famous people. I mean, famous people from movie history in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, And so you say, well, my gosh, oh, wow. I mean, Cecil DeMille building or, and I said, oh, my gosh. But I remember in doing a movie or two before I ever got into Little House, I remember having to go to a very famous place in Hollywood called Western Costume. Many of the studios, they would have their own costume department, but sometimes they would send you out to Western Costume, big, huge, 4 or 5 story building, just costume after costume. But I remember going there 2 or 3 times to be fitted for some costume. And I remember sometimes, not always, but I would maybe be fitted with a shirt, a pants, a shirt or something that on the tag was still there of some famous actor. I thought, oh my gosh. I mean, being from a small town in Kentucky, I'm truly like the kid in the candy store. I mean, I never envisioned being in Hollywood, never envisioned ever being an actor. So I really would revert back to my small town, I went over another camera. Revert back to my small town attitude and personality and say, wow. So, but sometimes I'd walk around on MGM, especially at lunch break when we had to go to the commissary, and maybe sometimes I'd walk into a building, but they were all business buildings. I mean, casting people and offices and stuff. So, I maybe once or twice I walked in to the doorway and just watch some other shoot go on, some other production going on. But often those are always closed off and the doors are shut and everything. So you're not always allowed to get into to watch other productions. But when I was staying at Warner Brothers, several of our buildings were on the back lot. Our school buildings were on the back lot, and often they would be shooting movies or TV series there on the back lot near where we're at. So at break time, maybe lunchtime or whatever, often I would get a chance to observe the Waltons being shot, other Police Story going back a few years, watching some other productions going on, and it was great. It was wonderful, and I never envisioned ever being in that position of being on the other side of the camera.
Now, did you ever get a chance to meet, do the other actors mingle and participate and develop relationships on these lots as part of when you're there? Is like, how do people actually, what do they actually do in order to continue getting better roles or different roles and meet other producers and directors and stuff like that? Is this where the scene is, or does that happen elsewhere?
That happens elsewhere, but obviously on the set, especially among the regulars or maybe the reoccurring people, you get to know each other. And matter of fact, some very strong friendships were developed, and still to this very day, they're still the closest friend. For a quick example, the girl, Allison Arngrim, she played Nellie Olson. To this very day, Alice and I are the best of friends. Now, the terrible things that she did to me on the set, all those terrible things, but we're the best of friends. And she doesn't live too far from me, and we've been to each other's home quite often. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to give her a call here in a week or so, invite her over to my house if she will come during this pandemic. Anyway, because I want to give her something. But no, and matter of fact, many of the Little House actors to this very day are very close friends. Allison is very close to Hersha Prairie, who played Alice Garvey. Allison and baby Grace, who was truly a baby at the time. The girl who played I'm trying to think of the not baby Grace, but baby Carrie. They're all very good friends. We're in contact occasionally with Dean Butler, who played Almanzo. Occasionally I'll talk with Caroline Ingalls, Karen Grassley, and every now and then Melissa Gilbert and I will exchange an email or two. But to get back to maybe answer the crux of your question was to get other roles. Well, typically your background, maybe your casting agent will submit you for another role for another movie or TV show or whatever. And hopefully the casting agent either recognizes you or they look at your resume and have you to come in for the audition. And I know for me, this is true. I'm not really patting myself on the back too much, but the last 4 or 5 roles or acting roles I got, I did not have to audition. They knew my work, and I got the role without having to audition. So by being on Little House, they knew the casting people of other movies or shows, TV shows, knew of me, or my agent was able to tell the producer of some other show or movie, Dan is doing, he's wonderful, and they accepted the agent's word and just casted me without audition. And that, for me, that happened, as I say, the last 4, 5, or 6 rows, that's how it happened. I didn't have to audition at all. So it's nice. It's nice recognition, very nice recognition, and an honor to be in that category.
Now, when it comes to like the show itself, is there any particular shows that stand out as either your favorite or something that really took place that made the show really stand out in your mind and in the way you believe the show to be? That's the one that made the show.
Well, I tell you what, one thing, Michael Landon, he wrote many of the scripts. He seemed to have a very good idea of what middle America or families would accept. So he kept the shows within that kind of constraint. I mean, he didn't venture too far out and from that. But my favorite episode, my favorite character, and the favorite person to work with, besides Allison, of course, besides Nellie, I really enjoyed. And I worked with Karen, I worked with Michael, and anyway. But my favorite character on the show was Harriet Olsen. She was my favorite. And when I'd be on the set, I wasn't working, just watching, and I'd watch Harriet on the set doing whatever scene, whatever, and I'd just be amazed. But she was my favorite character besides Nellie. Now, and besides Michael, and besides Karen, but I really, because Harriet's character was so broad and so out of there. My favorite segment, my favorite episode had nothing to do with me. I don't think I was in that episode. Is when when Harriet Olsen's husband, Nels Olsen, got kidnapped. got kidnapped by, I think it was 2 kidnappers, got kidnapped, but Harriet refused to pay the ransom. Her husband's been kidnapped. Harriet won't pay the ransom to free her husband. To me, that's my favorite episode of all time. And one of the reasons why it is my favorite episode is one of the 2 kidnappers was an actor, and he was a director of one of my early movies.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. And he was one of the kidnappers, but I'm trying to think of his last name. Roy, I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, Roy was one of the 2 kidnappers, and he directed me in one of my early movies. So that's why that particular episode is my favorite. Michael, I'll tell you what, Michael was a wonderful director. I don't think I had a better director than Michael Landon. I really don't. You didn't waste any time on the set of Little House. You didn't waste any time at all. I mean, I've been on the set, movies or whatever. You wait around all day long until 4 or 5 o'clock, and then finally you work. But with Michael, most of the production people had been together, many of them, since Bonanza days.
Oh.
Yes. So they knew each other. They were very efficient. They had all this experience from Bonanza days. And I'll tell you, it was very seldom that I worked all day long. Usually, if I had a 7 o'clock call time to be on the set, by noontime, I'd typically be finished. Or if I had a 1 o'clock call time, by 5 o'clock, I'd be finished. And that was true with most of the actors. You didn't have to stand around all day long doing nothing, waiting for your scene. It was very, very efficient. It really was, I remember, very quick, and I'll give you a quick one. I remember Nellie and I are having a fight. We're having an argument in Nellie's restaurant. And actually, it ends up with her throwing some stuff at me. Food, right? The truth is, we shot the scenes, we shot our close-ups in the morning, and then come noontime, go for lunch. I heard Michael tell Nellie, Allison, you're done for the day. You can go home if you want. And so when we came back after lunch and we continued that scene or that episode, and we didn't have it, Nellie. When Nellie was throwing food at me, she wasn't even there. She was home relaxing by her pool in her estate. Anyway, but that's how, from the standpoint of shooting stuff and only doing minimal amount of time as far as what the actor had to do. We shot the other half of the scene, the other half of the stuff. Wasn't even there. So very, very efficient production company.
So pretty much most of the actors wait around for their moment, for their scene to be staged, set up, lit up, organized, cameras.
Yep.
And you're sitting in, the coffee room or whatever it is. What do they normally do? So while they're prepping, and then when your time is up, you're asked to be there at, let's say, 1 o'clock. And how long does it take? What is a normal day that if you were called in for 1 o'clock and you were there till 5, what did that day look like?
Well, for one thing, the production crew would typically already be pretty well organized and set up. One good thing about Michael was this. He always had stand-ins when they were going to do the technical setup, getting the lighting, what we call the blocking. You go here and then you go there. That's called blocking. So he would always have stand-ins to do that for us, meaning the actors never did do that. We would be able to go over. You were always usually around the set. You never left the set and walk. Just sitting around the set. And we could be able to relax, or if we need to go over our script or review our script, we could. But Michael always had stand-ins for us. It helped preserve a little bit of the energy, and you didn't get tired out. So the stand-ins, he would be directing them and make sure the lighting and everything is correct as such. And then when they're ready to shoot, then he would call what he saw the A-team. The A-team. Can we have the A-team on the set? So the A-team would come on the set. But usually when you're not doing anything, you're usually sitting around the set. You don't wander too far away. You keep very close to the set. And whether you're talking, chit-chatting with someone, another fellow actor, or you're reviewing your script, obviously, Merlin Olsen, I'll tell you what he did, kill the time. He did wood furniture making.
He was building a whole wood furniture company.
Yeah. That's what he did. He made furniture when he was just doing nothing to do, and yet he was on the set. That's what he did. I can't think of anyone. I mean, I think some of the ladies might be knitting or something, but Merlin Olsen, he made wood furniture, and that's how he killed time.
So basically, what you're saying is the stand-ins did all of the prep work for you.
Yep.
So the lighting to make sure, so this way you're not standing around in the heat of the lights and all this stuff.
And all the heat, exactly.
And
once
they're ready to capture film, then they call the A-team actors to do the face rolls. Did they record, let's say, the stand-ins doing the roles that weren't facial, where you could see the people, or is it just only the actors did all the work?
Only the actors when they filmed. Now, keep in mind, interesting, when we shot Little House, it actually was shot on film. Today, everything is digital, of course. But at that time, it was all shot on film, and you didn't really want to, typically you didn't want to waste a lot of film. Now, the only thing that Michael would do occasionally, and I remember the first time I experienced this with Michael, was when we were making a movie down in Arizona. And I remember, if they got everything, it was a hot day. I mean, it was a hot day out there in Arizona. Anyway, they got everything all set up, and we were going to do one rehearsal. But I heard Michael whisper to Teddy Voigtlander. Teddy was the cinema photographer. He was in charge of the cameras. And I heard Michael just whisper to Teddy, film this, film it. Meaning he was going to film rehearsal. Because he thought it might be something, if he filmed rehearsal, it came out wonderful. Why do it again? So I remember one time, and I don't know if I caught him again, like on Little House, but I do remember catching or hearing it one time, hearing whisper to Teddy. And I remember one time I screwed up a scene. It was just me and a phone call, and I remember I screwed up on the scene. I thought I'd messed up. The truth is I had not messed up, but now because I thought I'd messed up, I messed up, if you get to understand what I'm saying. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Okay. But I hear Michael say, what did he say? Not shoot it, but save it, or use it, whatever. Save it. Anyway, because I figured maybe he's like, well, maybe there's some parts of it I could use if I need to do some cutting and this and that. But I heard him say, save it. So, but I'll tell you one thing. Very, very seldom, at least with my experience with Nellie or Caroline or even himself with that Michael. Usually we might rehearse it one time for the actors and then shoot it one time, and that was it. And sometimes we didn't even rehearse it. Sometimes we just shot it. And only once or twice did I screw up, because I figured, listen, I'm kind of low man on the totem pole. I'm not one of the stars, so I better not be messing up at all. But so it really, I mean, like Alice and I, I think we only shot every scene one time.
Yeah, if you're not the top star, this is a pen. They just wipe out that scene. We don't need this scene no more.
One thing I liked about Michael, if to my knowledge, I was never ever edited out of anything. He used everything I did, to my knowledge. So I'm always so grateful to Michael Landon in so many ways. He gave me the big break, a big, huge break. And he was so nice. He was always nice and respectful and friendly to me. I mean, I couldn't praise him enough. I'll be honest with you. He was just a nice guy, And I never saw him get angry on the set. I never saw him ever lose his cool. Never.
I guess that's the way, when you've developed that much of a talent over the years of, such as his experience with all the shows, producing and doing stuff like that. It's in bad form when people are now concerned that you're losing your marbles.
Well, you know what? You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I figured, here's what, I mean, I've talked to some other actors. We figured that he trusted the casting lady, Susan Sigmund. Susan went on to marry Kent McRae, who was the producer. Michael was the executive producer. Kent was the producer. Anyway, she went on to marry Kent McRae, and the three of them were big pals. Michael, Kent, and Susan, big pals. Anyway, but I figured that Michael just pretty well said, you know what? I've got the best actors for this role. I don't have to worry about, I mean, they're going to do a good job, and they're going to do the job that he expected us to do. And so, as a result, and I talked to the other actors on the show, and we have all said the same thing. He apparently felt that he had the best actors for the role, and therefore one take is all you needed, because you got it right, and that's a nice compliment from Landon. I mean, it really is, Seldom ever did he ever do any directing. Seldom ever did he ever do any directing. Just saw what you had. If he liked it, that was great.
Is there any advice you could give to people who want to be part of the television, TV, all of the acting style, activities that take place, whether it's in Hollywood and now pretty much everywhere in the world that's taking place?
Yeah.
Do you have any advice?
As I said earlier, get training, get some background, get some skill, develop the tools.
Is there any particular type of training that exists out there that is real training rather than local people training what they don't really know that take place in Hollywood?
Well, I don't claim because I didn't go to the actor studio in New York, so I can't claim to be part of that philosophy. But I was taught the same philosophy, the method. I was taught the method, and it was an approach, or I understood it. I mean, it worked fine for me. It really worked fine for me. I know a couple of my friends who studied with me. They didn't understand it. They really didn't get it. They just didn't. And unfortunately, they never worked. They never got a job ever. But I understood it. It was wonderful for me. I mean, I'd never done anything like this in my life as far as acting or doing anything, at the work studio. So this was fabulous. I mean, this was something out of I never dreamed of, and I loved it. But the thing is, get training. And I do think it's a matter of the individual finding the technique, the teacher, the technique, whatever, that fits them. Because I did study with 3 or 4 other teachers for a short while, I just didn't enjoy their approach to teaching acting. The teacher that I learned the most with, the method, it worked for me, and luckily I got to work in Hollywood. By the thousands every day, people come into Hollywood. They want to be a star. They're going to be an actor. They never work. They never do anything. Luckily, I was somewhat successful. And it's because, again, I studied. I took it seriously. Very quick, I'm going to tell you a story. I met a guy. I didn't know if I met him, but I was introduced to him at maybe a party or something. And I said, and he said, he's an actor. He's going to be an actor. I said, where are you staying? He said, well, I'm not staying. He says, I'm working over at this restaurant, because that's how you get discovered. He was working as a busboy. He says, because I was watching Johnny Carson one night, and some actor came on, apparently some famous thing. He said that he was working as a busboy and got discovered. So this guy says, that's how you become an actor. You go and work as a busboy, you'll be discovered. I mean, dumb guy, of course, stupid. But so many people come into Hollywood thinking that's the way. So, they'll be discovered without any training, anything at all. So
now, when it comes to the actual agencies, having an agent, what is the real value of an agency or having an agent represent you? How does that work?
Well, it's very difficult to get an agent, especially if you've never acted. And there's 2 components to this. One, you need an agent in Hollywood because the agent is going to be your representative, and the agents are informed as to what roles, movies, and TV shows and commercials are available. So they can submit your picture, usually your picture and resume. And whereas you as an actor, you don't know what all is happening in Hollywood. You can go knocking on doors, but the doors won't open for you. If you get a good agent, that agent can open the door for you, get you submitted, so forth, as far as a picture and resume, and hopefully the casting people, the director, producer, will want to see you and have you brought in for an audition. That's really the purpose of an agent. Now, There's also the other side of the coin. It's a catch-22. Before you can work as an actor, you got to be in the union, the Screen Actors Union. You cannot work unless you're in the Screen Actors Union. Okay? You cannot work unless you're in the Screen Actors Union. But you can't work because you're not in the union. You can't join the union because you've never worked. So it's just, I mean, it's closed door, closed door, closed door. So how do you ever become an actor? Well, in my case, I'll give you my case. My agent submitted me for a commercial. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. It's been so long ago. But I think my agent submitted me for a commercial. Right. I got the role, but then had to inform them I'm not a member of SAG, so they can't hire me. Right. But there's something called, it used to be, I don't know if it's still the way it is, used to be something called the Taft-Hartley Act, which meant a person could work one time. I think actually you could work 30 days, but in the case of an actor on a commercial, you could work one time, and that qualifies. That's it. But the Taft-Hartley says you can work for, I think it's like 30 days, and then you can no longer work. But if you work one time under the Taft-Hartley Act as an actor, you've acted, you can join the union through the Taft-Hartley Act. That's how I got in. Now, the production company had to write a letter to the SAG, to the union, saying there's no other actor in all of Hollywood that can fulfill this role better than Dan McBride. So they sent the letter to SAG. SAG accepted it. They said, okay, you can join the union. I joined the union, and I acted in the commercial. So that's how I got in. But not all production companies are willing to kind of take that extra step, write a letter to SAG saying only this person, this actor can play the role, no one else. Most would say, no, it's not worth the trouble. We don't want to have to write all letters. We'll just bring in another actor. They can do it, who's already a member. So it's difficult. It is difficult. It is difficult. It is difficult. It was difficult. It was difficult. So that's how. But agents, you need an agent. You need a good agent to get you going. You really do.
Is there anything that you want to, tell us that I missed in asking you that you really want to go through and tell us about?
Some of the best times I ever had was with acting. Some of the best experiences were with acting. And doing plays. I mean, we didn't get into the plays I did or anything like that, but I did plays, many plays before I got into the camera, into the film, in this part of it. But no, I think it's that the actor really have to gain those tools and those skills so that when you get the opportunity, you can present something to the production company. Michael would always Michael Landon would allow us, he would see what we brought to the scene. And in most cases, he liked it. As I said, I only once or twice did he ever give me any kind of directions. But again, if you have the right actor for the right part, they'll bring in the right stuff. So, no, acting is difficult. It's something you must really want and really give it the effort, or else you're not going to make it. Really
do you do any public appearances? Do you do anything else other than acting?
You see, when I went through college, I got graduate degrees in college, but not in acting. But anyway, one day, as I worked a couple of episodes, 2 or 3 episodes of Highway to Heaven for Michael. Anyway, but I'm beginning to say, you know what, my career, I mean, I had some opportunities that didn't quite catch hold. But anyway, so I think, what I want to do, I don't know what I want to do. Anything else I want to go to, any other job, profession? No, I don't. One day out of the blue, I get a phone call out of the blue, not pursuing it, had no idea. I get a call offering me the opportunity to be a college professor.
Now that's interesting. Go ahead.
Initially, I said, well, I'm not, I'm on a date. I mean, I have never been in, I don't know anything about it, because I've been I've just been acting. But they called me again, and I accepted, and I've been a college professor ever since.
Oh, there you go.
Not teaching acting, teaching health sciences, anatomy, physiology, pathology. I love it. I love it just as much as I did acting.
At what university?
The next session, I'll tell you about how I got back into acting.
What university are you a professor at?
I've been at UCLA, Cal State LA. This is in LA, in Los Angeles. UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. Cal State LA, California State University of Los Angeles. City College of Los Angeles. I've been primarily at East Los Angeles College. But I've taught at Cal State LA, UCLA.
Do you do any speaking gigs? Do you go out on tour? Do you travel and, for appearances of events?
You know what? I never knew that such things were going on until about 4 or 5 years ago. Reconnected with Allison, with Nellie. And I've learned from her that there's all these events that they go to occasionally throughout the year. And so, yes, if I'm invited to go to some events or something, I'll go out and meet the public, meet the fans, and I enjoy it. Yeah. So if in Tampa, Florida, in Tampa Bay, you ever have a little house event or something like that, or want me down there, invite me and I'll come.
Oh, yeah. So if you're ever in the Tampa Bay area, definitely we'll come up with something to keep you busy over here while you're visiting Florida in the Tampa market.
Right. Well, now let me interview you for a moment.
Go ahead.
You're with the Tampa
Post.
Florida, Tampa Post, right? Tampa Post.
It's a news blog. It's a virtual news blog only.
Oh, it is. Oh, that's what I was trying to find out. Okay. Wow, that's wonderful. And how long have you been doing this?
For about 2 years now. We've done about almost 200 episodes.
Really? And how often do you present the blog? How often? Every day or?
We used to do it on location at the Attic Cafe downtown Tampa, and so we had a sponsor, a law firm. We stopped the episodes last June, not this June of 2020, but June of 2019, okay. And we did a full year and a half. And we were running several shows we were doing. I was doing LeaderCast, which I interview CEOs, business people, and all kinds of stuff. We have Vetting America, which is a veteran show. We have veterans who interviews veterans to help other veterans learn how to access benefits and other services related to veterans. We had another local show. I forget the name of it right now for some reason. It's not what I'm thinking. It's something else. But it's a Tampa Bay show. He's gone on to be on cable right now. So after about 6 months, he ended up getting a deal with a local cable company, and the show is continuing in that capacity. Wow. So I cleared that. Now I have moved on to real estate. So now I'm a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Florida Properties Group. And
really?
So I've decided to reactivate the Tampa Post and develop the shows again. And that's what I'm doing, is putting together, doing these shows, and it creates what you call content that relates to the show, where I can then put in other material. In the last year, and I forgot to even check it, but I logged on to clean up the site because I changed the design.
Right.
And I looked at the subscribers, and I looked at the subscriber, how many people subscribe to the show to get updates on whenever we upload a new show, and I found out that we had 7,500 subscribers that are waiting for the next episodes.
So they're trying to hear from you again, huh?
Yeah, they're waiting for us to produce that, because every episode would get 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views, and the cafe Tampa is a business community. It's not a tourist town.
Right.
So all the hotels fill up during the week with business people that come into Tampa, stay at hotels, but they're gone Thursday afternoon.
Huh.
And the cafe, which is the Attic Cafe at 500 East Kennedy, there it's on the 4th floor. It's always empty on a Friday. So I talking to the owner about, hey, why don't we do, and I had the office on that same floor. Like, can I do some episodes here and test out some stuff? He's like, yeah, go ahead, use the space. There's nobody here anyway. So after about 3-4 months constantly talking about we're here, we were doing the episodes live too.
Oh, you were?
And,
okay.
Yeah, so we're here, downtown Tampa, 500 East Kennedy, on the 4th floor at the Attic Cafe. And it has balconies overlooking the downtown area. So after a while, people started showing up.
I was going to ask you.
Yes,
Yeah.
People started showing up. Now, I produce the stuff, and I have the equipment, so I have sound systems playing towards the cafe. And you will be able, and you can, you can't see the people. I was going to set it up where you can see the people. But, people would be photobombing left and right. And, it probably would be a distraction. So there was a beautiful painting of the downtown Tampa mural. And we did that with that backdrop, even though the noise of the cafe would start to fill up.
Right.
But it didn't have any relevancy to the production because I had the proper microphone with the boom mics, the Countryman mics that go over. So it didn't matter how much noise took place. It did not affect the visual or the audio quality of the production. And we had a lot of fun doing it. I also, I produced the seminars. So a lot of real estate seminars, people who do real estate and do trainings, they would ask me and I would go to the hotel with them. I would set up the sound system, the cameras, the microphones, the laptop mics, all that stuff. And we would record their conference.
Oh.
And the stuff when they go at a conference, when people go to a conference and the presenter says, and for $2,000, with the discount today of $900, you too can have my product. So I've done that all over the state of Florida, all over the Caribbean on cruise ships. I would record and produce these things on location wherever and package them into DVDs, CDs, and stuff like that. So there was a very interesting market. So doing so many real estate conferences, I decided, why don't I get my license? Because I'm already involved with people in this space. And I might as well benefit from it because, when you're around people doing it, there's always crumbs that fall, and you might as well get them.
Yeah.
But
let me quickly ask you, when you were doing your webcast, whatever, would that often be face-to-face with the person actually in the studio with you?
Yeah, we would be on location face-to-face.
Okay, wow.
And now I'm doing them, virtually. We're doing it here, usually in Zoom. I set up a whole system for Zoom. Zoom has the ability to do a virtual set, a green screen.
That's right.
And I can send the other person the green screen, and I've built out virtual studios so where two of us can actually look like we're in the same setting in a slightly different offset, making the camera look like the camera's here and the camera's over here, and we would be side by side looking like we're in the same studio.
Really?
So that's what I'm doing now, is implementing that. But it requires someone with a computer with at least 8 cores processor with a GPU in order for that functionality to work inside the Zoom platform.
Exactly right.
So I did one 2 days ago I interviewed Pat Dunham, who is a tiny homes expert.
Oh, really? I've been seeing and reading about the tiny homes. Yeah.
I will send you the episode once I publish it. I'll send you the link to the episode.
Okay.
So we did a 45-minute episode on tiny homes, going over what she does, how she advises people on tiny homes, container homes, and all of those things related. How places like St. Pete has implemented a tiny home formula for existing homes that have a property big enough to put a small home in the backyard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
you can have, let's say, an in-law or let's say parents who, there may not be, even if there's enough space in the house, they just want their own privacy, where they have maybe 400 square feet, bathroom, a tiny, just enough for them to be comfortable, but not enough to be, in the main house.
That's right. That's right. Yes, I know. I've seen them. I've seen they fascinating to me, the tiny homes or the small homes. That's fascinating to me how they can create everything in such a tiny space. I'm totally impressed with the creativity of it. But let me ask you, are you spending more time with the real estate than you are now than with the webcasting?
Yeah, I had a studio here, a full green screen production studio, about 2,500 square feet.
Where are you at now? You're at home, aren't you? You're at home?
Yeah, I'm at home right now. I'm in
Okay,
the dining room area of the house. Normally I'm in the office when I do the green screen, but I've also rigged this space. This has a painting. I could put a TV behind here. I've rigged it so this way I could do a whiteboard and, 6 people can be in this space where we can go over activities. But as of this month, the 1st, I had the studio, which we've done a whole bunch of stuff where, we would create stuff in modules for people who do product, like creating a product. So we'd do the person in green screen, then we would produce the background, then we would produce the PowerPoint or the presentation parts. So the whole product would be in modules that we can then put together. So if a company was to want to buy that person's product and they say, but we don't like your background, it looks, it's not our stuff. You can say, hey, it's not a problem. What would you like your logo in there? What would you like there? Because we can change that. And we don't like this frame of the PowerPoint in your presentation. That's not a problem either. We could just take that out as well and put something else that fits whatever it is. And one of the first ones that we've done a little while ago has now become the first module as part of the production for training in India, like an Indian company out of India, meaning India, the nation.
Right.
And they've called on him. They saw his stuff. They called on him. And now he's one of the first people selling a product on how to learn faster in India.
Wow. Really?
And we're using those modules, right? They haven't really complained about the background we use or anything like that. But if it became where they want to change it, we don't have to shoot the whole thing again. We could just redo the background or any of the presentation pieces and reinstall them, and rather than spending the amount of hours to redo the whole thing again.
Well, let me ask you: Have you ever thought about, or maybe you've already into it, like the info commercials and things like that you see on TV?
I produce not in semi-info commercials. They're basically not. I produce several of them, but the market in this area isn't really that big. I do local TV commercials. Good.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Local TV commercials. I have a couple of actresses that participated in some, that we put in.
Good.
And one of the major things that I've done is, I run political campaigns, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I run political campaigns, and I help people run for office, and I've done 25 of them.
Wow.
I have 3 in office right now, and one of my biggest things is I've done a special election.
I understand. Yeah.
Not on election day, but a special
full-blown,
like a normal election day election, but off election day.
Right, I know.
And
yep.
That was to help rebuild our whole school district's infrastructure.
Really?
In a 10-year period, it should raise roughly about $130 million, and to rebuild only dedicated 100% and I've written all of the details of what they can't bond, that they can't use the money for anything else other than infrastructure, and they had to provide us with every facility what needed, and only that stuff can be used for, the money can be used for.
Well, let me ask you, what is your success rate as far as your candidate winning? What do you think?
Somewhere around 30%, because the biggest problem I have is that I take on anybody that wants to run for office, including a presidential candidate I did in 2008. He got on 13 states. He made it to all the national stuff, and that got me into the Library of Congress archives, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the presidential candidacies, whenever someone runs for the presidency, and if they make it to a certain level, they get archived in the presidential, in the presidential library or the Library of Congress, however they do it, as historic footage. So my two interviews that I did in studio, and this was live TV on cable. At the time, we were producing live cable TV, and he was my guest for 2 episodes, and one episode was on the first YouTube debates that took place in the country, in St. Pete, Florida, and I did an interview. Happened to be there, and he happened to be there, so I did an interview with him. So those 2 episodes plus that interview is archived in the Library of Congress.
Wow,
and
that's cheap.
It doesn't mean anything because I haven't gotten a check for any of that yet.
You're there.
Maybe
with that particular candidate, have you ever come across him again since the election?
Oh yeah, I speak to him. I speak to him on occasion. I helped him. I've convinced him to run for for Senate, for U.S.
Really?
For U.S. Senate. He got 23% of the primary vote at that time.
That's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, I have a client. He's an assemblyman in New York. He was a state assemblyman. Now he's in the city, whatever they call him, in the city of New York. And I had one congressman in the state of Florida, not Congress, but state representative in Florida. He's already term limited out, and he's moved on to, into whatever he's doing now. I actually have to call him back. And several school board members, and so, participating in the constitutional realm of helping people provide, how should we say, new data into the marketplace is very important, because what we get is just the same old platitudes, the same talking points. So I'm constantly trying to get people to want to run for office, not for the purpose of winning, because it's a very serious job and it's a lot of work. People think you just run and you win. No, you've got to do at least, and I coach in this space as well, you've got to do at least 1 season before you even think of running. Participate at every level of that election cycle, so you understand what you're doing the next election cycle.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
And just like a director, Michael Landon is the director. He tells you guys what to do. He writes the script. He does all that stuff. The same applies for those who are, basically running for office. You can't be your own director. You need someone who is watching, seeing, producing, doing all the things you can't do. Your job is to know what you're about, so when you're in front of people talking about your business, which is why you're running for that particular office, and be fresh. Just like the stand-ins are there to help you not be exhausted when you're on set, ready to film, you can't be doing all what I do in helping coach you in the stuff of politics, and then try to get in front of, a crowd of 100 people and be on the money. You got to have somebody doing all the other things so you can be on stage because every minute piece of what you're saying, how you dress, what you look like, and how you present your case, it's the same thing. You know, you get to do another take. But when you're up there, those people are watching and saying, he doesn't understand, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So
now, how long have you been doing this, the politics part of it?
Oh, that I've been doing for at least 20 years.
Oh, wow, really? Oh,
Yeah.
my.
And, you know, at first you just help people. You're just, you know, wandering aimlessly in the political scene, participating, going to functions. And then you start providing, you know, once you watch and see enough and follow politics enough, you can provide guidance that help people understand what they should be doing, how they should be presenting themselves, and, you know, how to, you know, what to talk about. Because most people have basically one item that is their pet peeve, right?
Yeah.
I don't like this. I want to fix this. And that's that single issue person, right?
Yeah.
But you can't run on a single issue. You got to have a little bit broader knowledge and understanding of the purpose, because it's like saying this: if your issue is not something that job can actually fix, what does that say about you? You follow what I'm saying? So if you're running for an office and you want to fix this issue, that's not the office that fixes it. They have nothing to do with it. So how smart can you be if the people that are watching and looking at your candidacy, and you're saying, I want to fix this. This is what I'm about. This is what I want to do. But that's not the office that has that jurisdiction to fix it.
That's right. I think often a mayor thinks when they run for mayor and they win, they think, oh, I can now do anything I want to do. There's limitations. They don't have control over everything. You know, same thing with the president as well. Almost
the people that we know as the politicians have almost next to zero control of everything. You know, it's all already written into the business, the agencies, how they operate. All these things already written in. You're just making superficial new decisions. And they're all based on already what can be done. And that's why you have, you know, whether it's a county commission, that's why the lawyer's always there. They're, you know, whatever people want. The reason why they can't give you an answer there is because it has to go through the agencies to see whether or not it's even possible. Is it even in their jurisdiction to allow that to happen? All these things have to be taken into account. But the frustration of the public is, if you tell the politician this, you work for me, you know, why can't it be done? We've set up so many layers of this stuff that these things cannot be done like that. They have to go through the process, and
we call it the bureaucracy. So,
it is the bureaucracy, but that's what the bureaucracy is against us, but also works for us, because people just can't show up. People just can't show up and make drastic changes that ruin people's lives.
That's right.
So that's what I do.
Now, you find in your different productions, you find the area of the being involved in the politics more interesting than some of the other things that you've been involved with the production and organizing? Do you find the politics?
Politics is, both of them are a passion, and I love doing both of them. You know, technology, anything with a computer, like I could take this apart and turn it into, like, you know, a car almost.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
But, you know, engineering is what I really enjoy doing from the early days. And anything.
Now, what is your background? I mean, education-wise or training, what's your background?
You know, basically I studied to be an engineer. And
really?
And in New York, I'm from New York, so that's where I studied and went to school and did all that stuff and studied to be an engineer. And then, you know, then we had something called blizzards. You know what I'm saying? You know what a blizzard is?
Oh, well, are we talking about the weather or?
Yeah, the blizzard, the weather. You know,
weather? Okay.
Yeah, blizzards show up every so often.
Yeah.
And in 1996, we had blizzard after blizzard after blizzard, and it just piled up and piled up, and it was freezing, and I was like, okay, that's it, I'm done.
So you left.
And that's when I left. I had the place down here. It was a summer place for me.
Oh, did you?
I decided, that's it. Florida it is.
Wow.
And
so how long have you been in Florida? Since 96?
98, 2 years later. So that was in 96, I'm like, that's it, I'm done. So I planned. So I planned the move. Took me a couple of years to make sure funding, financing, what I'm going to do, all that stuff.
Do you know anyone in Florida? Do you know anyone? Or relatives or friends?
I did have relatives here. I had a couple of relatives here. And, you know.
In Tampa?
It's a little bit north of Tampa. We're one of the suburbs in Tampa.
Okay.
And it's really, there's nothing like Florida. I mean, Burbank, California, the weather is probably like Florida. Do you have any winter there? Do you have winter there?
We have winter. I mean, it doesn't get cold like New York or anything like that.
Yeah.
If it gets down to 42, 43, we're freezing, we're cold.
Exactly. Like on the overnights in the winter, we will get, in this area, we'll get into the mid-30s. At night only.
Yeah.
But during the day, the swing could be 30, 40 degree difference from day to night in the winter. So at night it could be 30 to 32 degrees, and the next day you could hit 75.
Wow.
Again, it could be back into the 30s, and you'll be at 72. And 3 days later, you're in the 80s again.
Well, we'll get swings like that. Maybe not quite as cold, but we'll get sometimes swings and highs and lows like that.
And it's a whole different. Just like California, Florida is very similar into the infrastructure, weather-wise, and the diversity of people. Where California gets people from 49 states that move into California. Florida is the same way. Florida, all 49 states come and relocate to Florida.
Right.
So we get a lot of that.
Yeah, Tampa's on the Gulf Coast side, right? Tampa
Correct.
is
Tampa,
about halfway up.
Right about almost a little bit south of halfway.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We're more. It's definitely a little bit south of halfway of the state.
Okay.
More towards the sunny side of that. And then you have three major cities, which is Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. So we have two international airports
in the Tampa Bay area.
That's called the Tampa Bay area. It's been considered, it's the Tampa Bay metro area, even though there's three separate counties. And,
really?
So it's three separate counties as well as three major cities. But it's a unique area with lots of water everywhere, lakes everywhere, and it's just exploding everywhere.
And you've enjoyed living there in Tampa.
There's nothing like living in Tampa.
Really?
It's a completely a different, it's a different kind of people and personality because it's so many people from so many states.
Really?
And when it comes to like finding people that are from Florida, you won't find them in Tampa. So for every probably 100 people you talk to in the Tampa metro area, maybe 4 or 5 of them will actually be natives of Florida.
Really? Wow. Now, do you experience much of the way of hurricane winds or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I've gone through all of that stuff. I've actually written a book on being prepared for emergencies like those.
Really?
And I've been on every radio network in the country.
Really?
Coast to coast.
Now the hurricanes that you experience, are they going to come from the Atlantic side or are they going to come from the Gulf side?
They mostly come from the Atlantic side, but they can originate from the Gulf, but they can't flow into the Gulf mostly. But they come from the Atlantic side pretty much predominantly.
Right.
Though they do, if they come from the Gulf side, they usually hit Mexico.
Okay.
So they'll go into Mexico if they're in the Gulf side, but not
it.
exclusively. They could go up all the way up to Texas and Louisiana, but for the most part, if they originate in the Gulf, meaning in the area of the islands over there in, what do you call it? Man, I've been to that island so many times. What is that? Cozumel.
Okay.
Like in the Cozumel area of the Gulf of Mexico, which is south of the Gulf technically, they usually will flow into Mexico before they go. Very rarely do they come up northbound.
I see.
But the ones from the Atlantic will flow into the Gulf. And as you remember, Katrina and others that go from the Atlantic all the way up to Galveston and other places like that.
Right.
So it's just
learning
is what I like.
Yeah. How did you come across Jesse, or how did you get on the Coach the World?
How I got into Coach the World?
Did she contact you, or did you?
I believe one of my producers or someone that I've either interviewed, or one of the producers, or one of the events that I've met her.
Really? Okay.
I can't remember which version it was.
I
invited to be a guest on one of my shows. And
really?
She came on one of my shows and we did an episode. And she's like, you should put together a thing on, on Coach the World. So that's what I did. And we've been in touch. We've been in touch for the last couple of years.
Okay.
We've been to functions. I've invited her to stuff. She's invited me to activities that she's been a part of. And so that's what we've been doing. And she's like, Anthony, I like what you're doing. I just sent her something. And she's like, why don't we do a Coach the World episodes? And so I'm going to put a category called Coach the World on the Tampa Post. And the episodes that I do as part of Coach the World will be in that category. So they'll be in there for the Coach the World.
Well, and I forgot it when we were talking about Little House. There's four of us, I believe, total four of us from Little House that's on Coach the World. Of course, there's me. There's Allison Ongrim, Nellie.
From Microsoft.
There's Baby Grace.
Support for Office 2016 format.
That's one of my. You're hearing the voice of something coming on my TV. Anyway, my monitor. Baby Grace. Carrie. I think Carrie's on Coach the World. Let's see. I think there's four of us. Me, Allison, Baby Grace, and Carrie. I think Carrie's on it. I think there's four of us. So, I'm sure I'm sure Jared might be willing to try to set up another interview, whatever, for with them as well. And you can have a whole section off there on that.
Well, I'll make a subcategory. Little House on the Prairie category.
Yeah. It's amazing. When you asked me, do we go out? I go out usually with one or two others on some event, and it's amazing how many fans there really are out there that still loves Little House. I have more fans, probably more fans from France. France is just a hotbed for Little House on the Prairie. So you might want to go to France sometime. Interview some of the fans.
We've actually one of our shows. I produced a TV show called The Bleeping Truth that ran on cable, and it's actually we've sold the episode. Well, we sold a piece of the episode, which is the highlight. So it was a political episode. That's what The Bleeping Truth is about, and we had a candidate running for city council, and a pundit who was. It was a three-way interview. I was the producer. I was not the host. The host has two people, and he's asking, standard TV shows, conversation formula. But towards the whole show was really bad. It was, you're a liar, you're fat, you're stupid.
Oh.
That's what the show was. That's how it went. It just went downhill from the very first the very first question.
Right.
So what happened at the end, literally 30 seconds before the end of the show, the pundit gets up, throws his mic, touches the other guest. He tells him this is live. This is live broadcast TV. No editing, no time delay. So he curses at him. He tells him to, blank himself. And then he walks around around the cameras. We had 3 cameras. And there happens to be a tall wicker stool-sized chair, which was probably about 20 pounds. And he picks up this chair and he throws it at the guest.
Oh, my.
Fortunately, it was all caught on camera.
Oh.
The chair hits the table first, fortunately. It hits the table, and it just nicks the guest that he was throwing it at. But it was a very big, heavy chair. And I'll send you the snippet. And we almost got on Jay Leno at that time. We almost got on Jay Leno, but we were so good at promoting this segment. This is 2006, I believe, or 5 or 6.
Right.
And I'm an expert at video production, so I knew how to edit video files. Even then, when the computers were very slow, I produced high quality, small size file format that the TV companies can download. So we were giving it all over the world.
Really?
Yeah. And we even crashed the AOL server at that time because that's how much viewing of that little snippet took place.
Wow.
So we ended up selling it to the French conglomerate, TV conglomerate, as part of their, blooper reels, people going crazy type thing.
Right.
True TV, which is now Core TV, we sold it to them as well. They use it as part of one of their promos. And the Japanese conglomerate TV, whichever one it is, we sold it to them as well, where they use it as part of their promos for certain shows that they do related to, politicians gone crazy or something.
Yeah. Did you expect the two of them kind of clash like that, or what were you expecting? Anything?
No, listen, because I'm a political hack, the host is not a political hack. I am. So I would, in the green room, the first few episodes, it took too long before they really got into the political beatdown.
Yeah.
So I would warm them up in the green screen, in the green room. And by the time they got on set, they were ready to kill. So I think I warmed them up too much that day.
Well, as you said, you asked the first question and off they went.
Off they went. But it was bad. It was bad. It was just like the whole episode was, you're fat. Stand up. Show them how fat you are. This is what the show reverted to, and it just went downhill from the very first question.
Yeah.
And this is live, so it's not like you could just stop in the middle of the segments.
How long of a session? Half hour, an hour?
Oh, it's 59 minutes live.
Oh, that's a long time. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah. We had to really be, on the money, doing it all live. And keeping the show going and doing all this stuff. So I produced The Bleepin' Truth, then I also produced Real Talk, and then later I became the host of Real Talk. Then I hosted several other shows that I didn't produce, but I hosted them.
Right.
So I've been doing a lot of this stuff. It's mainly for fun. I have products, whether it's on Amazon, whether it's on, paperback, which is I publish other people's books. I'm actually doing 2 books right now that I'm publishing. One for a person who I produced a show for, and they're small segments, and it's going to be more like a pamphlet book, about 55 pages, maybe 60 once we add the graphics, and other stuff to it. Then I'm doing one who is I'm coaching her on podcasting. As a podcast production expert, I coach people on podcasting. And have you considered doing a podcast?
Well, no, I mean, because I think I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I mean, I don't know. I mean, no, my good friend Allison, she does have one.
Ah, there you go.
And of course, and matter of fact, I've been on her show a time or two. But of course, she knows everybody in Hollywood. So in her case, she can easily call in this person. But no, I mean, I don't have anything. See, you have your hands in many different things, so you have
well,
different
remember,
ways.
you're a professor. I actually one of the things I had is strategy talks. That's what I knew there was something I missed to tell you. It was a professor show, a professor from the University of Tampa. I produced a show called Strategy Works. And he would interview other professors. So he'd bring on the professor, and he would ask them about their classes. What are they professor in? How they teach their class? What's their class about? Et cetera, et cetera. So that would run for however long it would run for. I'll send you those episodes. You could watch it. Maybe that would be a podcast on your understanding of being a professor, teaching classes, the value of what education about, how to use the education. You never know.
I'm not that intelligent. I'm not that intelligent. You know what I mean? Remember the show? I can't remember. You Are There. We're back in the early 50s. You Are There with I can't think of the famous broadcaster for CBS, not Walter Cronkite.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But anyway, but You Are There, and it was this. Of course, it's more like an interview show. I mean, but it was interviewing people in their own home. That I could do. I could do that. I mean, I love asking questions. I love asking questions, but I don't really have a whole lot to offer myself. You know what I mean?
Listen, I could guarantee you, I could keep interviewing you for hours. I assure you, you do. You definitely have far more wisdom in the celebrity, in Hollywood. You may have done this a while back, but the same functionality, everything is the same. Nothing changes. We're human beings. We have really two needs. We get up, we eat, and we poop. And everything else is basically a repeat of that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So,
we all have our pockets of expertise. Of course, we've all had different experiences. So, but I never had any of that. I didn't have that ambition or that real drive. Like my friend Allison, she has that drive. I mean, if she can't be in person appearing someplace, then she'll do it on camera, that kind of thing. So, and she's a true entertainer. I'm not quite that person, I was an actor, come in, do my job, say my lines, and go home. Anyway, but I thank you for the compliment. I thank you for the offer. And who knows? Maybe one day I'll wake up and say, I think I know what I can do,
Exactly. You could take my course on Coach the World, by the way.
There you go.
You could take the podcasting class on Coach the World. It's an introductory.
I give Jessie a lot of credit for creating her website,
It is a phenomenal platform. It is simple. It's basic. It's direct. For the user, meaning us, we just click, once a person purchases one of the courses, it's just an automated process. And just as simple as this was, that's how the platform operates. We are actually on the platform right now.
I know, it's amazing. I know.
So again, Dan McBride, actor in Little House on the Prairie, amongst other movies and things that he's done, as well as being a professor at universities. What, 4 of them? You worked at 4 different universities?
4 or 5.
And, doing a lot of stuff in the realm now, connecting with fans so they can spend time with them, to talk to him about stuff like that. So if you're on Coach the World and you want to connect with, Dan, just to get whatever, if you love the show or you just want a perspective from an actor that you probably did not hear in this episode, you can get access to him very easily, very simply. Do you turn anyone down? Do you say, no, I'm not going to, I got this person, no?
And I even say, if you contact me on Coast the World after we finish, I'll see you an autograph photograph. So
yeah, there you go. Plus, now you get a bonus because of this. Ask for the autograph, and right. It is an awesome time to spend with you. You know, Dan McBride, using Coach the World. Thank you again for taking the time. I'm Anthony Kovic with LeaderCast, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And thank you, Anthony. Thank you.